Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz, your host of the Raiders Report. It's Tuesday. We go live. If you didn't know, we go live every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in the off-season, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm going to tell you this right now. Today's going to be a fun day. There's a lot of shit that has been happening around the NFL, and there's been a lot of stuff that's a lot of fun rumors. Like usually at the end of June, early July, I'm sitting up here talking about, breakout players, sleepers. The fact that we actually have legitimate NFL news to discuss here on today's show, quite frankly, I couldn't be happier about it. So coming up live today on the Raiders Report, this is a show that I'm not going to lie to y'all. I had a full entire show scripted around if the Miami Dolphins wanted to trade for Michael Mayer, what would those trades potentially look like? But I did it more in the sense of I don't want to move on from Mayer. I know the Raiders don't want to move on from Mayer. So if the Miami Dolphins are still interested in going out and getting another tight end on top of Darren Waller, sounds weird, then there are certain players on Miami that, quite frankly, I want to be involved in that trade. I will be the first one to tell you this. I do think that is much less likely that the Raiders trade Mayer over to Miami, but I don't think that it's impossible simply because Mayer and Waller are two totally different tight ends, and I'll also say that I don't think that Waller is a lock to make that roster. Every single Raiders fan knows Darren Waller is a hell of a tight end when he's healthy and when he's got his mind right. I think it is foolish to assume that he's 100% healthy and he's 100% in the mental headspace to be a reliable NFL tight end for an entire season. For that reason, I do still wonder, could Miami make a deal for Michael Mayer? So what you guys are going to see are 5 different trades involving 5 different Dolphins players that if you want Michael Mayer, cool. I'm going to tell you exactly what I want in return for those guys. Another segment that I got coming up here on today's show is going to be around Jakobi Meyers and Kolton Miller. There was a report from a Raiders insider that indicates whether or not the Raiders are going to extend these players. I'm just going to talk about it. I'll give you my 2 cents. That's going to be another part of the show today. And then, obviously, if anybody has any questions or any comments at all in regards to the Waller trade, like if you haven't seen, there's a live poll right now at the very top of the show. Who's a better tight end right now? Is it Michael Mayer? Is it Darren Waller? Please go up top there and vote. And then, since it's July 1st, and since I had a lot of fun last Tuesday doing a mega duck race, we are going to do another mega duck race today here on the show because there's also a lot of good stuff to talk about. One of the first things that I want to talk about, and I'm going to give some shout outs here on today's show to the 255 people already here in the building. Who do you think is a better tight end in the NFL right now? I'm looking at the live poll. 79% of the people are saying Michael Mayer. But if you think it's Darren Waller, that's okay. I could make an argument depending on what type of offense you're in. Like if you're going to be in an offense that's just going to go 4 wide, 5 wide, spread it out, throw the ball down the field, maybe Waller's the better option because he's the better receiver. Though, I personally would type my MM for Michael Mayer because I don't think that we've seen the best of him yet. And I do know how tough it is sometimes for guys to kind of get their foot wet, if you will, in the NFL, going from college to the NFL. But to me, I think the better overall tight end and the guy that I would rather have right now, if you told me Michael Mayer or Darren Waller, I'm going to take Michael Mayer, and I'm going to be real. It's not all that close to me. And because I don't think it's all that close is another reason why if you're Miami and you had the opportunity to get Mayer, Mayer's the better tight end than Darren Waller. I see CJ CSR is going to go with Michael Mayer. 87 from Oliver Lopez Villa. What up, RJ Van's going to go with Mayer. King Shav said, give me Jeremy Chuggs. I will say this, 20 minutes before the show started, King Shav is like, yo, is Chuggs back? I said Chuggs is back.
Oh, he's back.
He's back and better than ever. Emmanuel Sanchez, going to go with Michael Mayer. Raider Rob, John Fallon, Cali Raider 98, Andrew Navarra, Patrick Roche, all going with Michael Mayer. But I do respect that Mike Nintendo Master did say Darren Waller, and I appreciate even though you saw all the MMs, you're like, no, man, I'm still going to say it with my chest. And that's the type of shit that I want
Listen, if you think Darren Waller can get back to any semblance of what he was with the Raiders before he left, I would type my DW too.
I agree.
I would type that because before he left, whenever he got traded away, before he had the injuries, everything, whenever he was with the Raiders, arguably a top 5 tight end in the NFL in terms of pass catching.
Completely agree. Like, I really think that this comes down to where do you think Waller is at? And because he retired from football and now he's coming back, in my mind, Waller had to step away from football to get his body healthy, and maybe the hamstring injury is better. Maybe the SI joint is better. I also know he's had some chronic injuries, but then also there's the mental aspect side, and you have to talk about that when you discuss Waller. Here's the other thing. You got to talk about the mental aspect side of football as well with Michael Mayer because he sat out a bunch of games last year. I just think that Mayer, in the 2 years that we've seen, there's been a lot of unknowns. I think that this is finally going to be a year because we have a good quarterback, because we have a Chip Kelly, because we have an offense predicated on running a 2 tight end set with a running back like Genty. You're going to see the best version out of Michael Mayer that we've seen so far. For that reason, I will type my MM.
Richie, he's a train wreck waiting to happen in the comment section.
Who, Waller? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
Richie knows ball.
Darren Waller, to me, is the perfect example of a player that he kind of reminds me of Hunter Renfrow, where I know that he can be great. And everybody knows that he can be great. But would you bet your 2 weeks salary on Darren Waller playing more than
8 games?
I was going to say 12, but even that answer is my point of I don't know how you can have faith in Darren Waller considering the last year of his life and the last time he played football. Like, it's hard to be able to bet on that. It's also hard to bet on Michael Mayer. I hear you loud and clear. Let's go to my man, Cass Joey, for Super Chat on today's show. Nada said it's Michael Mayer, and it's not even close. Nada, I agree with you, which is why like people that are going, oh, Mitch, the Dolphins traded for Darren Waller. It's not going to happen with Michael Mayer. And I totally disagree with that.
If the month ended right now, Cass Joey would be in the Raiders Report Fantasy Football League.
Let's go.
He has the only 2 tickets this moment to the July Raiders Report, which I'm a little upset I missed that. Apparently, an epic wheel spin.
It was an epic wheel spin, though. We went back and we looked, Rebel. You did have more than 2, so Joey and I were capping a little bit. We thought you only had 2 entries. You ended up having like 10-ish, and that's because Chuggs also would like put some extra ones in for the moderator. Yeah. Also, you had some extra 5s. It was so hard to see all the names. But in all honesty, Rebel had a 1% chance yesterday. He's in our Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. And right now, if the month were to end today, probably means the world's over, so I hope that doesn't happen. But Cass Joey, you would be in.
Bright side, Cass Joey, you would be in.
You're in. I'm not sold on Mayer anymore. When he had his personal reason away from the team occurred that made me think he's not mentally strong. Waller is better, and it's not close to me. I respect your opinion on this one, and I know that Waller, like if you told me, do I think the Michael Mayer ceiling is ever going to be what we saw the ceiling of Darren Waller's? No, I do not. But like you're saying, the mental aspect, I mean, Waller had to retire last season. I think Waller was also dealing with a lot more things outside of football. And like to me, I want a guy that's focused on football. And because Michael Mayer has some questions around him, there's no doubt about it. Because Darren Waller has some questions around him, there's no doubt about it. If you were to ask me which player do I think would be focused on football and football alone, which is ultimately the tiebreaker for me, which guy is focused on football and football alone, that's Michael Mayer, and I don't think it's Darren Waller. I mean, Waller, to me, I think is a little bit more concentrated on his rap career, his music career, and, Zelesbo, I was laughing at your comment because I also saw it on the video that I dropped earlier today. First comment, like one of the very first comments was Zelesbo. She was like, I guess his rap career didn't really take off.
Yeah.
And, it's a little bit of a jab there, but I think as a Raiders fan, I don't mind people throwing that jab because in my mind, we paid Darren Waller to be the highest paid tight end in the NFL, and he took that money and was like, well, now I want to be a rap artist. Stop working as hard as what he needed to be able to stay in shape, keep that hamstring injury. The injuries piled up. And then I think you saw a little bit more of that mental fatigue. So to me, I think a third-year tight end and Michael Mayer is going to be way more motivated to be a great NFL tight end compared to Darren Waller, who's already retired once, is dealing with a lot more off-the-field stuff. And I only say that because, when you get married in public light and then you're divorced in less than a year, like that's going to be a lot of negative attention. And he still wants to perform his rap career. But if you're telling me who's got the higher ceiling, for this year, I do think that it is Michael Mayer in terms of just overall tight end talent. Where Waller, I can't expect Waller to be. I can't depend on Darren Waller, and that's more on Darren Waller. I know it's tougher to say, well, how do you depend on Michael Mayer? I can depend on Michael Mayer being a tight end too, because I know I got Brock Bowers. But if you're the Miami Dolphins, you're then weighing out Darren Waller as your tight end one or Michael Mayer as your tight end one. I think Mayer as the tight end one is the where I personally would feel a little bit more comfortable putting my hat on. But and DJ Big D says addiction is a real issue. It is a major issue that people, again, don't realize. And when you've listened to the things that Waller has come across, like he was afraid to take a lot of painkillers. And I don't know if he does take painkillers anymore, but I remember on a recent podcast that he did probably in the last year, he literally said, I was always afraid to take anything, health-wise, painkillers, because I was worried I was going to get addicted to it. But if Waller is healthy and Waller is 100% motivated, and if you told me Darren Waller is going to play 17 games this season, then it's a good trade for the Miami Dolphins, and they won't need Michael Mayer. Let's go to Rebel. We still won that trade. Rockets got Smith. So I agree that the Raiders did win. If you told me the first thing that comes to your mind that Josh McDaniels did well for the Raiders, honestly, I shit you not, first thing that comes to my mind, we won the Darren Waller trade.
The funniest thing is that was not even really his decision. It was kind of like the relationship between Waller and him strayed so much that they felt the need to trade him away. But I don't know if he would have done that on his own accord.
Sure. It was a weird situation, and I can remember Waller talked about it a little bit, so did Kelsey Plum, that some had to do with there was like something going on with like a wedding invite.
They didn't want it, like the press to know that when their wedding was, and he just went out and like said it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I woke up this morning wondering, new month, is he going to do it? And I don't even know why I question it anymore. I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at what the record is for most shows with a consecutive bang. Because I'm telling you what right now, we are approaching a record, and it's coming in from the Night Devil! Bang! What is up, nation? Happy July. Let's fast forward to the season. I'll tell you this, man. Fabian Moreno, you, sir, are a crazy mother effer.
And I'll say this.
The June Bang MVP, the May Bang MVP, and currently the July Bang MVP.
Fabian is already in the Raiders Report Fantasy Football
Big facts.
League. Yep. He's already in. So in the month of July, every time Fabian bangs, I'm giving away 5 free tickets to anybody spamming LV. Anytime Fabian bangs, 5 free tickets, anybody spamming LV.
I'm concerned how many tickets we're about to give away. Fabian, dude, you're an absolute legend. I can't wait to meet you again the day that I'm planning on trying to get out there, which Cass Joey, you're kind of in that area as well because Fabian was the back-to-back Bang MVP. I said I would go visit him. We're going to have dinner at the Desert Shark in Tucson, the restaurant he owns. And since I'll be out there, Cass, we can also link up there. So, right. Chuggs, who's getting the spot?
I'm giving one to King Javier, one to Zalesbo, one to Mark Prosser, one to Slurricane Sinpai, and one more. Who wants the last one?
I'm not going to lie. The first one that I just saw was E.D. Amazing.
All right. E.D. Amazing.
The Night Devil. Make sure you guys say thank you to Fabian Moreno. And obviously, Fabian, with you already being in the Fantasy Football League, we're going to try to do some more giveaway things for you. And you weren't the only one. Rebel Montana, also in the Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. Reb, I hope you played the lottery because I can't believe how lucky that was.
Yeah, and on the last part of this, the Rockets signed Lakers forward Dorian Finney-Smith, which I'm guessing this is what you are referencing in this.
Explain that to me in NFL terms.
This is a fun one. In NFL terms, for Dorian Finney-Smith, I would say that's like the Raiders in the offseason signing Kendall Fuller.
Okay. I like it.
Not the best.
I'd go live.
Not the best. You'd go live for it, though.
I'd go live for it. Absolutely.
I would say that's a good comp.
Like a Jermaine Pratt?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's a really good one. Like a starter for his team. Is he like a perennial Pro Bowler, All-Pro guy? No, but he's a starter. He's a solid starter.
Okay.
He's like a Robert Spillane.
I love Spillane. I wish we could have kept him, but it is what it is. Rebel, I like this question. I appreciate it. Let's go to the next one rolling in here from Patrick Roche, who, again, has been an absolute legend. Patrick, it's been another person where I hope I say this and you don't get mad. I want you to get a picture because when somebody participates as often in this show as you've been participating recently, I just want to be able to put a face to a name, unless that's what you look like. And if that's what you look like, then I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't put a picture up. I think Michael Mayer is better, and it's not even close, in terms of Darren Waller. Now, I do agree with you that I think Michael Mayer is the better tight end right now because of his overall skill set. I will still say, though, from a receiving standpoint and receiving standpoint only, I do wonder if Darren Waller is still the better option because, again, he's 6'6", he's 250, he's an absolute athletic specimen, and he's a freak. But then the other part of it is, though, he's about to be 33 years old, and when you have the injuries that Waller has, I'll also say this. I know people that have battled with addiction, let's just call it like that, and it beats the shit out of your body. And I do wonder if somebody who was battling a lot of those addiction problems early on in his career is now, we see age 33, but does he actually have the body of a 38-year-old, 39-year-old? A 40-year-old. Like, I don't know. I'm not in that medical room. I'm not in that facility, obviously, but that is something that I wonder about. And I'll also say that it takes some time for tight ends to really, truly, get it going. And, like, if you go back and you look at player stats, somebody along the lines, even like, a Rob Gronkowski, it took him, I know that he had a lot of touchdowns early in his career, but he did take a little time to really get it going. I mean, even Darren Waller. Darren Waller was not a factor in the NFL his first 3 years in the league. And then that fourth year, it was like, all right, I get my shit together. I'm able to, put it together. I'm able to click. When you look at Mayer, that was somebody that I thought could have been a round one talent.
Yeah.
Could be somebody that, hey, can be a legit blocker, can be a legit number one tight end on most NFL teams. And, if you told me right now, who's got a better shot of being a top 10 tight end in the NFL over the next 3 years? It's Michael Mayer. Who's got a better shot of being a top 10 tight end in the NFL this year? Maybe it's Waller on that offense statistically, but to me, Mayer is the better option, and I agree with you on that. Let's go to Raider Rob. My birthday is tomorrow, and Jurassic opens tomorrow.
Dude, your movie.
It's unbelievable.
He's in the original.
I'm still not 100% convinced that you're not the Barbasol guy.
And I will say this, Raider Rob, I know you wouldn't lie about this. You're a real one. You're always here. You're getting an entry for this $2 super chat. Happy birthday for you tomorrow. And, huge for you. You're maybe the biggest Jurassic Park fan that I know. Are you excited about the new movie?
Ecstatic is probably the best way to put it. My finances right now are a little tight just because I just paid for the honeymoon. But I do really want to go see that movie in theaters. Really want to go see that movie in theaters.
I follow a couple movie content creators. One of them actually works here.
Yep.
All good reviews of the movie so far.
Yeah?
They've said it's really good.
Okay. I can't wait for it. Alex she was sick yesterday, and she's still not feeling great today. She's probably not watching right now. I was planning on doing a surprise, go to the movies date, because she's obsessed with the movies. However, though, she's not been feeling well, so I don't know. But happy birthday to you. I also just saw a crazy comment from Captain Steve Porch. I have the body of a 35-year-old, period, under my bed. Let's go to Cast Joey. Focused on football is probably Michael Mayer, no doubt, but talent-wise is Waller. I feel like at best, Mayer is a 500 to 600-yard guy. If Waller is focused on football for a year, I'd take Waller. At worst, he's Michael Mayer's best.
And I
think you're looking at it from a stats perspective.
But I will say this, Cast Joey, and I implore everybody to go watch the video that me and Mitch made this morning. It's already out on the channel. After we get done with live, I really suggest that y'all go check it out. But if you actually look at their stats for their first 2 seasons, you'd be surprised who the better tight end is. Because through 2 years in the NFL, what if I told you Michael Mayer is by far the better tight end? Because these are their stats from their first 2 years. Now, granted, Darren Waller was fighting to be on the roster, and Michael Mayer may have played a couple more games, but overall, Mayer's been more productive.
Mayer's also had to deal with some of the worst quarterback play that I can remember. He's also had to deal with a tight end being drafted above him, and I get it, but that still impacts you. Different head coaches, different offensive coordinators, a lot of moving parts. And to me, I don't want people to think of Michael Mayer as the player that he's been on the Raiders the past 2 seasons, and I know it's been frustrating. I look at Michael Mayer and I go, and it's why I really want the Raiders to keep him. And I know that I've been talking a lot about trades. It's, again, if that's what's going on in the news cycle, it's what I'm going to talk about. But I want people to think of the player that Mayer is and was when he was first coming out of Notre Dame. I mean, that was somebody that we had a legit top 15 grade on him overall. And in my mind, if Michael Mayer can't show this Raiders team with a great head coach in Pete Carroll, a great offensive mind in Chip Kelly, a legit quarterback in Geno Smith, and then also on top of that, there's other skill position players around. We have a good running game now in Ashton Genty. You have 2 solid receivers also in, Brock Bowers, Jakobi Meyers, who are going to be able to take some of that pressure away from him. And the Raiders have really been trying to get him going this offseason, and everybody that I talk to sounds like he's been looking really good. I disagree with some of the stuff you're saying, but I do understand what you're saying. Like, if you told me all the Miami Dolphins are looking for is a tight end that can catch the football, and they don't want a guy that's going to block at all, maybe Waller is the better option. But I also think that Waller literally only has 1, maybe 2 years left in the tank, where if you're the Dolphins, you go, hey, could I potentially get Michael Mayer 2 more years on a cheap contract and then get somebody that I could have a tight end for a very, very long time for? Also, Patrick Roche! Bang! From the top, Roche!
He said, tell me how to put a picture up in the corner.
How? You don't know how to put a picture up. I believe you have to do it on your desktop.
I would Google how to change my YouTube avatar.
I believe if you go on, you have to probably do it on your desktop, on your computer. I actually don't know if you're able to do it on your phone. Oh my God, this is a new one. The Night Devil! Bang! Holy cow. What did he even say? You head up to the top rope and drop the Raiders' elbow to put the picture in. Y'all are insane, dude. Y'all are absolutely, positively insane. And that also means this. We are giving away 5 more entries for the Raiders Report Fantasy Football League.
I see Drew Himalayan. He's getting one.
I'll also say this, Night Devil, since you are already in the Fantasy Football League, and if you end up being the Bang MVP for this month, whoever comes in second place is going to be the person that I'll end up putting in the Fantasy Football League. Obviously, I can't put you in twice, so technically right now that would belong to Patrick Roche.
I'm going to go
the one that would get in.
Raider Prime, Big Luck. Who else wants it? Ed Robbins, you're going in. One more, Mitch. Could you pull out one more name from the chat?
I just saw Lewis Dixon.
Insider.
Lewis Dixon, you in. Somebody said, why are we spamming LV? We're spamming LV because every time the Night Devil, Fabian Moreno, bangs this month, we're going to give away 5 spots for our Raiders Report Fantasy Football Raffle. Let's go to Jersey Boy Greaser. If you were a betting man, what will happen with the Watt, Hendrickson, Scary Terry, and Shamar Stewart situations?
Getting a lot out of the Super Chat.
I was going to say, you're getting your money's worth here. I think Shamar Stewart ends up playing for the Bengals this season, though there is a very interesting scenario that he could end up being redrafted if they don't get a contract with him, which would be very interesting. But I also don't think that Stewart's going to want to do that because I don't know if he'll be a first-round pick.
Every team can draft him except the Bengals.
Yep.
Which, before I found that out, whenever I just found out the redrafting story, I thought it would be the most hilarious joke in the world if the Bengals took him again.
Correct. So if you did not know, because he's not under contract, technically, he can be redrafted next year. And again, the Bengals would be the only team that can't get him. But at that same time, you're like, would you take a player that sat out an entire year? I actually think that would hurt his value overall. So I do think that Stewart ends up getting that deal done. Scary Terry, he's going to remain a Commander in my personal opinion. I don't see how you're the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels and you just had the year that you did. Just pay the guy $30 million, whatever he's asking for. I think he's one of the more underrated receivers in the league. Trey Hendrickson, I have no idea because
I think out of everybody, he's the most likely to get traded on this.
I think TJ Watt stays in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I really believe that he's going to end up getting a $40 million deal. It might not be 4 years, 137 like Myles Garrett got. Maybe it's a little bit more along the lines of like 2 years, $80 million, fully guaranteed. Like I could see something like that with Watt because he's had some injury concerns in the past. But for Trey Hendrickson, I don't have a great answer because a lot of teams value him differently. There are some teams that are like he deserves 30, 35 million because he's had 35 sacks the past 2 seasons. There are other teams that are like he's really just a sack hunter and doesn't help you out as much in the run game. Cameron, Mitch, do we have a handle on what a Michael Mayer trade with Miami looks like?
Funny you ask.
I at least have some ideas, and that's going to be one of the things that we discuss here on today's show because to me, I don't think that a Michael Mayer trade at this point is all very likely to Miami. But if the Dolphins were still interested, I would say there are 5 players on Miami, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that I would say, all right, if you want Michael Mayer, these are players that I could see the Raiders also trying to trade for, and I got some trade ideas cooked up. They're crazy, but it's July 1st, so hopefully you're ready to go. If you want to know what the July Super Chat deals are for today, every $5 Super Chat that we get, you're going to be entered in for our fantasy football raffle, and you're going to be going up against either me, Rebel, or Fabian Moreno. If you send in a $50 Venmo, you are going to be entered in for today's Mega Duck Race. On top of that, if you remember what we did before, let's say we get 10 people into the duck race. If you come in 10th place, you get 10 tickets. If you come in 9th place, you get 9 tickets. If you come in 8th place, you get 8 tickets. So this is one of those races, the more people we get in, the more bang for your duck you're going to end up getting. Every hundo, you enter the July bang competition, and whoever bangs the most in July, you're going to be in our Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. I should also mention this. You might have seen something down below. I said to everybody, actually I haven't said it yet on this show, I told Jeremy I want to do 10 bangs and we're going to reveal some exciting news. If you watched the video that I talked about earlier today, breaking down the Darren Waller trade, I said that we are going to do a fun live show Thursday, July 10th. And I got a special guest. 7 more bangs, doesn't have to be today, can be tomorrow. 7 bangs in the month of July. Whenever that happens, that's when we're going to tell y'all the exciting news of the special guest that we're going to be having on the Raiders Report Thursday, July 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to know, I'm just letting you know. That's we need 7 more bangs to reveal that news. King Shav showing some love to the Night Devil, which I absolutely love to see. Right now, the people that are in the duck race, as it stands right now, I see Fabian Moreno, you're in. I also have Charles G, you are in. So right now we have 2 people in, and again, mega duck race. Yeah, we once in a while do some big ones like this. We did it last week as well. Had a lot of fun doing it, and we were able to also give away a lot of raffle entries, which I think is pretty awesome. Tall Jawa says, Waller was a stud 10 years ago. Oh, you're good, Night Devil. I was just looking at it. I was like, yeah, it's a little weird, but it's all good, dude. It's all good. So reminder, we do have 2 segments coming up here on today's show, and I want to talk about the overall trade ideas that I have here with Miami, and then some interesting rumors, we'll leave it at that, around Jakobi Meyers and also around Kolton Miller. Those are going to be the 2 segments that you guys see here on today's show. Jake Serb, a flight attendant, asked me if I wanted some headphones, and I said yes, but how did you know my name was Phones? I'm not going to lie, that was funny. It's not what I expected. I have such a bad, I'm such a Ron Burgundy at times that it's going to happen from time to time. If you are looking and if you want, you can scan that QR code with your cell phone, just like you're going to take a picture, hover over it, and we're ready to rock and roll.
I was going to just start the segment, but Big Luck says we have to get to 150 likes. We're at 122. Then we're going to start the first segment. I was going to just start it, but Big Luck, he's one of our moderators. He made the rule. Don't get mad at me.
You got me, Serb. You got me, Serb. What do you call a grizzly with no teeth? A gummy bear. I'm not going to lie. Those are good. Those are good. Serb, cheers to you, dude. Cheers to you, man. We got 300 people here in the building of the Raiders Report, and one of our moderators says, I want 150 likes.
13 more likes.
We're getting close.
That's a bad number. We need somebody to like the video.
Yeah,
all right, 11 more likes.
We're like Motel 6 here. We're gonna keep the lights on for you. Patrick Roche is in the duck race. Mr. Roche, I got you in. Zalesbo, thank you very much. Maddie, I hope that Geno Smith is better than Derek Carr. You and me both. Quite frankly, if he's not better than Derek Carr, then he's having one of the worst years that he's had of his career. I'm pretty confident that he is, though. Pretty confident. Drew, appreciate you. Jake Serb, we did. We just got there. Coming up here, I'm going to do a segment that I'm just going to tell you ahead of time, and I'm going to tell my real ones that are watching this live show. I designed this entire show before the breaking news of the Miami Dolphins trading for Darren Waller, so please keep that in the back of your mind. But I will say this, trading for Darren Waller to me doesn't mean that Miami is 0% chance not going to go out and make a move for Michael Mayer. You're going to see a lot of trades. It's July 1st. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's let our hair down and get wild. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, the 5 players the Miami Dolphins have on their team that if they're interested in trading for Michael Mayer, I want them involved in the trade. I know that Miami was interested in trading for Mayer. That was before the Darren Waller trade. I should say this entire show I scripted. Jeremy built the whole thing. Before the Waller trade, we switched around a few little things because I do still think that there is a chance. It is a small chance that the Dolphins still could be interested in trading for Mayer because I believe Mayer is a better tight end than Darren Waller. I also believe Mayer is a totally different tight end than Darren Waller. So even though Las Vegas is not interested in trading for him, and if you want to see my full breakdown of what the Waller trade means for the Las Vegas Raiders and for Michael Mayer, that link is going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. But let me be very clear. I do not want the Raiders to trade Michael Mayer. However, if you are given an offer that you cannot refuse, you have to at least entertain that offer. So what you're going to see today on my show is my best way of saying, here are some offers that I don't think the Raiders could refuse. If you do not know this, though, I want you to go down to the comments section. We are an interactive YouTube channel here on the Raiders Report. If the Raiders trade Michael Mayer to the Dolphins, what would you want in return? Player or a pick? On today's show, I am going to tell you 5 players currently on the Miami Dolphins that if y'all are interested in Mayer going to Miami, well, then y'all better be interested in sending me a player in return because I don't just want to pick for Michael Mayer. Let's go to the first player here coming up on the show, and I'll be real. I have these guys ranked from 5 all the way down to 1, 5 being the least interested, 1 being the biggest and the craziest. I'll admit, out of all the players that you're going to see here on today's video, Quentin Bell is by far the last and lowest name on this show. I'll be very transparent. He was drafted by the Oakland Raiders in 2019 in the 7th round. I don't know how many of y'all remember that. He didn't end up making the 53-man roster, but he was on the practice squad in 2019. Played 2 seasons in Tampa Bay in 2019 and 2020. So those are 2 years with John Spytek, at least being able to understand and learn what type of player he is. But also, he won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, which I think if you're TB12, you're going, all right, like, that's a little guy that I'd like to be able to bring in a little bit more depth. If the Raiders were to make this trade, they would owe Bell $1.1 million this upcoming season, so it's not asking for all that much. Though, some of you are probably going, well, Mitch, he didn't make the team in 2019. Why would we want him now? Last season in Miami, 258 snaps, an overall PFF grade of 64.8. Did solid in the pass rush game. Really nice Rebel Montana run defense grade right there. But I look at Bell at 29 years old, at 6'4", 250 pounds. And I believe that this is a player that could potentially help out this Raiders linebacker / edge room. Because I do think if you allowed him to be an athlete and you let him just kind of fill in the shoes of somebody maybe along the lines of a Tommy Eichenberg, I'll be real with you. If I were to go out and get Quentin Bell, I would want to use him as predominantly as like an edge rusher. And in my mind, if you want to say compete, I would want Quentin Bell to compete with somebody like Devin White because I do think that their skill set is kind of similar in certain regards. Again, Bell's much better at coverage. White's a better athlete, but just something to keep in mind. So here's the first trade that I'm going to throw out there for Michael Mayer and for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Silver and Black get a 5th-round pick in 2026. I'll be transparent. Because the Dolphins already traded for Darren Waller, I originally said that my guess that the trade ended up going down would be a 4th-round pick. I don't know if you're going to still get a 4th-round pick, so for a guy like Quentin Bell and the Raiders receive a 5th-round pick in 2026. But again, this is the by far lowest trade that I have. Every other trade from here on out, I'm going to tell you, it's going to blow your freaking mind. Let's go to number 4 here. And it's going to be Jordan Brooks, linebacker from Miami. And Brooks, one of the things that you're going to see is a very similar path of there's got to be certain connections, I think, for a deal like this to ultimately get done. And if you're the Raiders and if you're going to trade away Michael Mayer, you have to have certain connections. You have to be confident about the player that you're getting in return. For a guy like Brooks, he was drafted by Pete Carroll, 27th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. Played 4 seasons in Seattle with Pete. And if the Raiders were to make this deal, they would owe him $7.8 million this season. And they would owe him basically around that exact number next season. But what's interesting is you could essentially get Jordan Brooks for a 1-year prove-it deal, $0 million guaranteed in his next 2 seasons. So if you're Brooks, you go, all right, I'd be entertaining this idea because I want some guaranteed money on my contract. And he's got some big tackle numbers. I will also say that there's a part of me that wonders if Jordan Brooks were to be involved, maybe the Raiders would try to trade away a guy like a Landon Roberts, send him back down to Miami. But Brooks is a tackling machine. Last year, 1,039 snaps, had an overall PFF grade of 71.3. Definitely a lot better used in the run defense game. I do think, though, that he offers you a little bit more versatility, and some people might say he's built more for a 3-4 defense. I do think with the Raiders, if you went out and you traded for the 27-year-old Brooks, I know that Las Vegas kind of wants to go with this 2 linebacker set, which is typically what PG likes to do, and you're going to see a lot of rotation between Jermaine Pratt, Landon Roberts. Could you also, though, then see a little bit more rotation if they decided to go with a 3 linebacker set because maybe we're not as confident in some of the players that we have in the secondary? Just wanted to bring up Jordan Brooks, though, because of his connection to Pete Carroll. Though, this is the trade that I would ask for. And I'll be real, Miami probably hangs up the phone, and they probably aren't interested in doing this deal because they view Brooks as a starter. Though I view Michael Mayer as, sure, he's not the tight end 1, but I view him as a starter on this team. So you swap inside linebackers, and you're able to go out and get Michael Mayer. We get Jordan Brooks, who I do think would be the best linebacker on this Raiders team. If you're watching this show live, you're going to get to find this out soon, potentially. Or if you're not watching it live, we're going to be having a special guest Thursday, July 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure your notifications are turned on, because when you see who this special guest is, and when you see him live on the show, I guarantee you're going to want to ask him a question. Let's go to number 3, and this is where I feel like I'm getting even more and more excited, because out of all the trades that you're going to see today, I actually think that Ashton Davis is the most likely out of the ones that I'm going to discussing. Why? The Miami Dolphins just traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Davis went from being the starting free safety, and you also have to remember, they signed him this offseason he was on the Jets, and they also lost Javon Holland, who went to the New York Giants. I believe Davis is at his absolute best when he's playing center field. And when you think about coaching connections, I know he's not with us anymore. Ricky Manning was the Raiders quarterback coach last season. Also did a little bit of DB work with the New York Jets previously to that. He had a Davis connection, so I watched a lot more tape on him. When he's at his best, it's when he's playing center field. That's the player that we need. We need a free safety right now that can play center field, and the fact that he's only going to cost you $1.2 million, I think that that's a good option. Yes, he's got limited snaps played last year, and he's played only limited snaps the past 2 seasons, 260, but I do believe that coverage and his just skill set that he brings to the table, you have a guy, a true center fielder in Ashton Davis. Then you have a great third safety in Isaiah Paul. Now, honestly, Ashton Davis is probably a little bit more of a third safety as well. And then you have Jeremy Chinn. That is such a interesting dynamic of safeties that you could do so many different defenses, and I think because you give Patrick Graham that flexibility, that's fun to me. Davis is 28 years old last season, had 35 tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 PBUs, also comes from the West Coast, California. I believe Davis actually did grow up a Raiders fan. Haven't been able to confirm that, but there's a little nugget in the back of my mind that's like Davis is a Raiders fan. And maybe it's something that I've talked about before, but if he had the opportunity to come to the West Coast and be a potential starter on a defense, because if you're him, you're going, well, you just traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. And, it's probably the same situation that Michael Mayer's sitting in when they went out and drafted Brock Bowers. I'm a talented player, but I know I'm not Brock Bowers. I know I'm not Minkah Fitzpatrick. And because you're probably able to get him a little bit cheaper after that deal, guess what? I am interested in making that trade happen. So here's my offer for Ashton Davis. The Miami Dolphins get Michael Mayer and a 5th-round pick. The Las Vegas Raiders get Ashton Davis and a 4th-round pick. So for the Dolphins, I used to think that they had 2 4th-rounders. I read it in an article. Ends up not being true. The Miami Dolphins only have 1 4th-round pick. But they have 2 3rd-round picks, so that is important to note. And because they have 2 3rd-round picks, I think them giving up a 4th makes it a little bit easier in order for them to do that. Who knows? Maybe they take a page out of John Spytek's book, trade back, and then they get a few extra picks there in a later round. I got a few more trades coming up here, and the next 2 players are absolutely blockbuster. I'll also say I appreciate each and every one of y'all tuning in. This is the month of July, and we've actually had some real NFL news to talk about, which excites me, which is why I wanted to be able to do this video. I also want to be able to put some Raiders gear on you, whether you need some for your lower half or you need some for your upper half. We got some Raiders gear, and it's on sale. Go to chatsports.com/Raiders sale in order to get set up. Whether you're looking for a hat, whether you're looking for a t-shirt for your significant other. If you're like, shit, dude, I didn't get anything that I wanted for Father's Day. We got you hooked up here. Raiders gear on sale, chatsports.com/Raiders sale. That link in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's go with a big name here. I'm going to go with Jaelan Phillips, edge rusher for the Dolphins. And he was drafted in the 1st round a few years ago. Unfortunately for him, has really battled some pretty wicked injuries that has ended his seasons in back-to-back years, but the talent is there for the 26-year-old. What I find interesting is Miami did draft Chop Robinson from Penn State, 21st overall in 2024, and maybe they did that in preparation for Phillips, because I'll tell you this, I actually don't know if Miami plans on extending Jaelan Phillips because of the injuries that he has had. Yes, he's already under that 5th-year option. I understand that, but if you're Phillips, you're going, well, you drafted Chop. Am I going to get another contract in Miami? I don't know if that's going to be the case. Phillips also, very importantly, did play college football with Chip Kelly in 2018. Yes, he ended up transferring to the University of Michigan, but that's because he was actually contemplating ending his football career due to a lot of those injuries. But we know how important having a player with a coaching connection is for this organization, and Phillips has one with Chip Kelly. If the Raiders were to go out and trade for him, they would owe him $13.3 million this year, and he is in the final year of his contract. So I would look at this for the Raiders, and I would go, all right, If we go out and we get Jaelan Phillips, so again, when you look at these numbers, he had an injury. I believe, was it the Achilles this past year? I know recently in the past 2 years he popped an Achilles, and I don't remember what injury ended up ending each season because he played 8 games in 2023. 2024 was a torn ACL. The year before that was a popped Achilles. So I actually don't know if it's going to cost you all that much compared to what people might think. Now, again, I think he's a hell of a football player. I wish him nothing but the best. But also at the exact same time, I don't know what the future holds. And there's a part of me that wonders, Miami is in this awkward phase of, are we in rebuild mode or are we trying to win right now? Jaelan Phillips is a player that's trying to win right now, but the trade that they just made with Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, to me, doesn't indicate a team that is trying to win right now. It indicates a team to me that is trying to build for the future, and they're trying to save some salary cap. So let me take the conversation of Jaelan Phillips off your hands, and if the Raiders ended up doing this trade, I'll admit you might have to pay him a contract extension right away. The Miami Dolphins, though, I'll give you Michael Mayer, the Camryn Richardson, because when you look at that secondary in Miami, it's probably one of the more weaker secondaries in the league. And just because I think we would have to give up a little bit more on top of that, I am also going to offer up Dylan Parham. Y'all know how I feel about Dylan Parham. I love Parham. I would love to be able to keep him on the team. But if you're Miami, they've had a lot of offensive line issues. And Parham entering the final year of his deal, Miami might be able to look at this and go, well, we could potentially extend Parham for the long haul instead of looking at a guy like Jaelan Phillips because they already have his replacement in Chop Robinson. Coming up, I got one more trade. And this is going to be the biggest trade of them all. Can you guess who I'm going to talk about? I'll be real. I think I can guess who y'all think it's going to be. Let me tell you this. The Las Vegas Raiders will not trade for Tyreek Hill. If the Raiders do end up trading for Hill, then I'll say I'll just take the L and I was wrong. The reason why I don't think that the Raiders are ever going to trade for Tyreek Hill is simple. The Fred Bilenikoff rule. I don't think the Raiders are going to I don't think the Raiders are going to trade and pay somebody $30 million a year when he has the background that he does. Mark Davis and the Raiders have a zero-tolerance policy for domestic violence, and Tyreek Hill has domestic violence in his past. That's why he didn't get invited to the NFL Combine. And over the past year, I think we've also seen Tyreek Hill deal with some other things. I don't want attention to be off the field. I want attention to be on the field, and for that reason, Tyreek Hill will never be a Las Vegas Raider. Let's go, though, to the number one player that if the Dolphins said, hey, I want Michael Mayer, the number one player I would want, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I know how crazy and outlandish this sounds, but then again, it's July 1st, and I miss talking about the NFL, so let's get a little bit crazy today. He was literally just traded to the Dolphins on June 30th. But he does have experience with Patrick Graham because he coached them in 2019. And the fact that free safety is this team's biggest need, the Raiders would own $15.5 million in 2025. What if Las Vegas said, all right, if we're not going to extend Jakobi Meyers and Kolton Miller, we're saving that money up to go out and get a Minkah Fitzpatrick, who also has 2 years on his contract, $0 million guaranteed. Minkah's going to want a new deal. I guarantee you, Minkah's going to go, you guys just traded for me? I want a brand new contract because I don't want to have $0 million guaranteed on that deal. And I actually don't know if Miami's going to be interested in doing that because the original reason why they moved on from Jaelan was to clear some money on the books. I will also say that I am somebody that loves a what if. I am somebody that loves a good rumor. And I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday, and him and I were kind of going back and forth. It's good to talk to you is how I'll say it. Shout out to you. We were kind of talking about this crazy idea of could the Raiders, Dolphins, and Steelers be a team that was involved in a three-way trade? And I know that three-way trades haven't happened since 1987, but do you all remember the rumors that apparently Jalen Ramsey wanted to go to a West Coast team? What if that West Coast team was the Raiders because they were in conversations, not for Jalen Ramsey, but for a Minkah Fitzpatrick, for somebody that played at Alabama, for somebody that's got some coaching ties to this Raiders organization, for somebody that is considered a captain, a leader, and also fills out a major team need that we have. So to me, I look at a guy like Minkah, and I would love the idea of being able to go out, and I would love the idea to try to go out and get him. And I would also pay him very heavily because at 28 years old, he is one of the best players in the secondary, and I do really think that he could totally transform this Raiders defense. Just saying. It's interesting. I know it's outlandish. What's even more outlandish is this trade. And let's do it. Let's get crazy. My fifth trade idea. The Raiders get Minkah Fitzpatrick. The Miami Dolphins get a tight end in Michael Mayer. They get a linebacker drafted in the 5th round, a cornerback drafted in the 4th round, a safety drafted in the 7th round, and I'm also going to throw in a 4th round pick in 2026. I know this is a lot to give up for a player like Minkah, but I also think Minkah is a top 10 safety in the NFL, and I think because of that versatility, he could really help out this defense from top to bottom. I also don't know if Tommy Eichenberg's a lock to make the team. I don't know if Trey Taylor's a lock to make the team. I don't know if DeCamerion Richardson is a lock to make the team. So if I could just move on from those guys and help out Miami, get a little bit cheaper, take some of that salary cap off the books, I know how crazy this trade looks. But guess what? If it meant I could get Minkah Fitzpatrick, I would do it in a flippin' heartbeat. So here are 5 trades that if the Dolphins were interested in Michael Mayer, these are 5 players that I believe Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and this Raiders regime would potentially be interested in going out and getting because it helps the roster and because of all the coaching connections. So, I saw the JT42 said none of those guys are starters. I don't know if you're talking about the Raiders side or the Dolphins side. The Dolphins side, all but Quentin Bell is probably a starter. For the Raiders, you're not totally wrong. Michael Mayer would be a starter on that team. But when you look at the Miami Dolphins from a linebacker, a secondary standpoint, I do think Trey Taylor and DeCamerion Richardson obviously make that team. I don't know if they're locks to make the team for the Las Vegas Raiders. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. I know how outlandish, I know how crazy this show was, and that's even coming from me. But I still wanted to be able to provide some content simply because Jeremy and I already spent all day building the show, and right when Darren Waller trade ended up happening, we're like, well, how are we going to talk about this? I do still think that Mayer could be dealt to Miami. If it went from being a 5% chance to a 1% chance, it might only be a 1% chance. But I do still think that there is a possibility for that reason. If Michael Mayer is traded to the Dolphins, those are the players that I want in return. Let's go to the great John Outdoors. Who would you want as quarterback, Derek Carr or Geno Smith, if Derek didn't retire this year? I'm be real with you. It's Geno Smith, and it's not close. That would be like me asking you, I'm trying to think of a good comparison here. Would you rather have Jakobi Meyers be your wide receiver 1, or would you rather have Seth Roberts be your wide receiver 1? And I think maybe you get that analogy, maybe you don't. But to me, Geno Smith is so much clearly better than Derek Carr. I don't even know how people think DC's even in this conversation, because to me, Geno's no doubt a top 14 quarterback with top 10 upside. If Derek didn't retire, I don't view Derek as a top 20 quarterback. So, also, Geno has won a lot more. Derek hasn't won as much, and I get it. Neither has a playoff win, but Geno also has won 27 games over the past 3 years, 6 most in the NFL. Let's go to Cameron Sproul. What about one of Miami's defensive tackles for Michael Mayer? I hear you loud and clear. And there was a part of me where I really thought about sending Christian Wilkins back to Miami. I just don't think they would do it. I think the other reason why a defensive tackle trade is not going to happen is because Miami doesn't have nearly the amount of depth at DT because they run a 3-4. And if you look at their depth chart, like Matthew Butler, I think makes that team. And if Matthew Butler's making that team a defensive tackle, the only other dude that they probably would send us is Seiler. And they're not sending him. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to trade a defensive tackle. And that's why I decided not to include one. But, hey, fair question. Let's go to another one coming up here on the show, which I believe we are all caught up on all the Super Chats. Friendly reminder, we are doing a mega duck race today. It is a $50 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. And if you're trying to get in for our Raiders Report Fantasy Football Raffle, right now the 3 people that are in, Fabian Moreno, Charles G., Patrick Roche. Winner of this race would go home with $75, so I want to get that up there a little bit more. If Patrick Roche comes in third, you get 3 tickets. Though I will say this, if it does end up only being 3 people in the race, whatever the tickets are, I'll end up doubling. I promise this, if you get in the duck race, I'm going to make it worth your while, especially for the fantasy football raffle tickets. You have my word. If you don't know how to enter the race, you can add me as a friend on Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. You can also scan this QR code with your camera, hover over the top, click it, send it that way. I will say, if you do plan on watching the Raiders Report the entire season, you're going to want to learn how to do this, because during the regular season, we're giving away thousands upon thousands of dollars every single week. And I hope that you guys get the opportunity to get in. Jake Sir Wilkins, I hope he's not a waste. All right, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I have to go take a quick pee. I'm going to let Jeremy hold this down and ask this question to all of y'all. We actually had an interview before this live show, so I was unable to go pee. So that's on me. But who knows? Maybe you'll see a new face here soon on the Raiders Report.
And the next segment is going to be around some interesting news/rumors with Kolton Miller and Jakobi Meyers. So my quick question to you is, if they get extended at all, who do you think gets an extension first? Do you think it's Kolton Miller, type KM, or do you think it's Jakobi Meyers, type JM? Let me know down in the comment section. Who do you think gets extended first? Who would you extend first? Who do you think is more important? Do you think it's the left tackle, Kolton Miller, or do you think it's your wide receiver 1 in Jakobi Meyers? Let me know down in the comments section. KM for Kolton, JM for Jakobi. I see it pretty split right now. Manuel and Cameron. Cameron's going KM. Manuel is going J. So we got some Jakobis, a lot of Koltons. I would say the majority now is Kolton Miller with some Jakobi Meyers sprinkled in. I see VV Raider, Billy Davis, Mark Rasmussen all going with their JMs. Seth, Gary, Fernie, Margot going with the KMs. Micah, Blaine Craig, Gary Backus. Y'all are all going with the KMs. Richie, type in CM. Don't know which one that is, Richie. I'm guessing Richie's going KM. Let's see. A lot of KMs, though. A lot of KMs down in the chat. And Jeremy Cole with a nice BJ. Very nice. Very nice. And I believe we had a couple hashtag Raiders questions. Here we go. I saw a couple in there. I thought I saw more in here. Here's from Martin. Hate to think about a Mayer trade, but it is possible that he's traded to the Commanders or the Saints. Yeah, I mean, I could look up. I'm not sure the Commanders need at tight end. If they need another tight end. Let's see. Commanders right now, their starting tight end would be Zach Ertz. Yeah. Yeah, they have Zach Ertz, John Bate. Zach Ertz has been decent, though. He's been decent. He's old, but he hasn't been horrible. The Saints, on the other hand, I believe they re-signed. What's his face? Let's see. The Saints. Okay, yeah. Oh, they have 2 tight end spots. That's weird. They re-signed Jawan Johnson. They have Foster Moreau. There might be a little discussion of who gets 87 if Michael Mayer's traded there. I think between the two, Washington would be more likely and would be more willing to give up draft capital to get a tight end. But good question there, Martin. I like your thinking and what you got going on in the comments section. This is the one I was looking for. ED Mazing. What if Miami offered the Raiders 2 firsts and a second for Brock Bowers? Would you do it? Oh, 2 firsts and a second for a tight end is tough. Brock Bowers, I think he's going to be so good. But if a team offers you 2 firsts and a second, especially with the quarterback class coming out next year and the year after that, and having multiple first-round picks in each of those drafts, I'll tell you this, Edie, if we're at the trade deadline and the Raiders aren't in the top half of the AFC, I would pull the trigger for this trade.
If you're telling, I would say the reason why I would say yes to this trade is because I don't think the Miami Dolphins are all that good of a team. So in my mindset, I also think about what I believe the Raiders would potentially do and look at this. Geno Smith's cousin, okay? What's his name? Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. He's going to be coming out in 2027. If I'm going to do a trade that's as crazy as this, in my mind, I'm going to use those 2 first-round picks, and I'm going to use that second-round pick, and I'm going to figure out a way to finesse myself up into a very good draft position in that 2027 NFL draft. I would also say yes to that because even though I like Geno Smith a lot, I think he's a hell of a quarterback. If you're telling me I got 3 first-round picks in the year that Arch Manning comes out, I'm feeling pretty damn good about the position that I'm sitting in. I guess, to me it would be the Raiders have 2 first-round picks in 2026, and then you'd have that second-round pick in 2026, and then you'd have that other first-round pick in 2027. In my mind, the Raiders having 2 first-round picks in the year Arch Manning comes out and in the year Jeremiah Smith comes out, I know how difficult it would be to move on from Bowers, but I think the other reason why you would be okay doing it is because you have Michael Mayer. Do I think Mayer is as good as Bowers? No, I do not. But I do think Mayer would be able to fill in, play that other tight end role, and then just from our other receiver standpoint, maybe we can't go two tight ends as often, but I do think then that offers the ability then to, let's just say top target getters, right? Like we're talking top 5 target getters. Brock Bowers, Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker, let's say Michael Mayer, and then you're going to split hairs between Jack Bech, Dante Thornton Jr., and there's a guy named by the name of Ashton Genty. I think because we have such a good, solid group in that, and those are names that I trust, losing Brock Bowers is going to suck, dude. No doubt about it.
I wouldn't do the trade before this season. Like I said, the only way I would do this trade is if we're getting to the trade deadline and it doesn't look like the Raiders are a playoff team. If that's the case, I'm doing the trade. Because then I'm looking for, in that aspect, that's telling me Geno is playing just okay, and this Raiders roster needs some more improving going into next year. And how do you do that with more higher level picks? You get another first rounder, and then that gives you ammunition. There's probably 2 or 3 really good quarterbacks in this next draft. That gives you ammunition to move up if you need into the top 5 to get an Arch Manning if he comes out this year.
And I believe Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL. And I do really, truly believe that he's going to be, I think he has a chance to be the greatest tight end of all time, right? And that is a hard thing to be able to turn down, no doubt about it. But also at the exact same time, I think about how amazing Brock Bowers was last season and how it didn't result to any wins or loss. It didn't result to many wins, right? I also do wonder if we're trading Bowers here in this scenario based on his stats. Like, I don't know if Bowers is ever going to have as many catches as he did last season. I hope that he has as many yards. He's that truly talented. But I do think because it was really only the Jakobi Meyers and Brock Bowers show last season, I don't know if we're going to see the numbers that Bowers put up last year again. And that's not a bad thing, right? Like, we just have more mouths to feed now. We have a better running game overall. But it's a hell of a question, and I appreciate this question because it made me think, and I think it made everybody think here watching the show. Let's go to Cameron Sproul. Geno with Carr as a backup could never happen. One, Derek wouldn't want to do it because he views himself as a starter, and he would want starter money. The other reason why you could literally never do this is because fans would want Derek Carr to start. One of the biggest reasons why I was so confident that the Raiders were going to pass on Shedeur Sanders in the draft was because if you draft Shedeur, then half the fan base, maybe not half, but there's going to be a large part of the fan base that wants Shedeur to start over Geno Smith. There would be a large part of the fan base that would want Derek Carr to start over Geno. And when you go out and you trade for a player and give him a contract extension with Pete Carroll, and Geno and Carroll are so close, like, they want you to love Geno Smith. They want you to fully buy in. I think one of the reasons why I expect a lot from this offense, and I want to give a shout out to Marcus on Twitter. His name is Marcus Johnson. He does a lot of good work for the Raiders and whatnot. I literally said to him, I replied to a tweet that he had, it was like, I'm not worried so much about Chip Kelly in year 1. I'm more worried about Chip Kelly in year 2 or 3. I am so confident in Geno Smith being a freaking dog this season for the Raiders that we have to be fully bought in. But no, I'm going to say no to Carr as a backup. Cameron, if the 2 rooks pan out, Jakobi Meyers could be dealt. I'll say this. I'm going to talk about Jakobi a little bit on the next segment that we're going to get into because I did see a very interesting rumor/report from Vincent Bonsignor that I wanted to take a little bit of a deeper dive on. But, one of the things that I said last week on the show was I do wonder if the Raiders not extending Jakobi Meyers is because they were like, all right, we want to see what we have from our young rookies. Jack Bech is good. The way Dante Thornton has played, I almost wonder if they go, well, shit, if Dante already looks this solid and we are so confident in what we have in Jack Bech and Tommy Malott maybe as well, then maybe you do let Jakobi go. You keep Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, and then you let Jack Bech fill that Jakobi role, and you let Dante develop into a better outside receiver a little bit more. I hear you loud and clear. I don't think it's impossible that Jakobi Meyers is dealt this offseason or during the regular season.
I mean, especially if the Raiders don't want to pay him, which actually goes perfectly into this next segment, Mitch.
Bingo. So coming up here, we're going to talk about an interesting rumor again from Kolton Miller, Jakobi Meyers. I'll also say Philip Bogert, you're in. Gary Backus, you're in. Amy, you are in. Reminder, $50 Venmo. We're doing a mega duck race today. As it stands right now, if my math is mathing correctly, right now you would go home with $150 here on the show. What's also interesting, though, if you come in first place, you get the money. So right now as it stands, we got 6 people in this duck race. If Amy were to come in 6th place, she would get 6 tickets. If Gary were to come in 5th place, he would get 5 tickets. I'm going to make it worth your while. If we only have these 6 people that enter the race, I'm going to double it. So if Amy you're in, you'll get 12. Gary, you'd get 10, technically, if you came in 5th place. Hopefully that makes sense. That's how I want to do it. I want people that watch the show in the offseason to have the best opportunities to join our fantasy football league. And I think that this is a good way to be able to do it because I do think real ones have Venmo. And just want to make that, again, give people opportunity to get in. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get into some rumors, the final segment on today's show. And then after this, we will get in to this mega duck race here on the Raiders Report. 50 to get in. Right now you have the opportunity to win $150 here on the Raiders Report. You ready? Y'all ready? Coming up, let's get into this rumor around Kolton Miller and Jakobi Meyers. I have some concerning Raiders rumors on Kolton Miller and Jakobi Meyers. My name is Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report, and I recently saw an article from Vincent Bonsignor from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and essentially he breaks down his thoughts, and when you listen to what Vinny says, Vinny doesn't believe that the Raiders are going to extend Kolton Miller or Jakobi Meyers this offseason. So before I get into what Vinny had to say, and I'll also weigh in on my 2 cents of why I believe the Raiders should extend Jakobi and Kolton Miller, what do you think the Raiders should do? Do you think the Raiders should only extend Jakobi? Type 1. If you're like, they should only extend Kolton Miller, type 2. If you believe that they should extend both players, type 3. If you don't think that either player, Miller or Jakobi, deserve an extension, I want you to type 4. I will be very, very transparent. I believe the Las Vegas Raiders should type those 3s because I believe that Geno Smith was traded for a reason and that Jakobi and Kolton Miller are players that you should want to tie to Geno Smith, to Pete Carroll, to Max Crosby, and they should be players that are all about having for the long haul because I do think that they're a part of this long-term plan that the Raiders have. Also, you don't find too many guys that are as talented as Jakobi, as talented as Kolton Miller, that show up for non-mandatory things in the offseason and that have already literally verbally said out loud, I want to be a Raider and I want to be a part of this team. For that reason, I am typing my 3. So let's first, though, get into the Kolton Miller side of this. And according to Vincent Bonsignor, Bonsignor does not believe that the Las Vegas Raiders will extend Kolton Miller this offseason. As soon as I saw this article that Vinny put out, and he put it out a few days ago, I was like, man, That's kind of surprising that he doesn't think that the Raiders are going to extend Miller. So I figured, all right, shit, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Now, when I break this down for y'all, I will say you're going to go through, you're going to see some quotes here from Bonsignor, and the first quote is this. Miller, 29, has been an anchor of the Raiders' offensive line since 2018. After a slow start last season, while coming off off-season shoulder surgery, he delivered his typical high-level production. Miller has said he wants to be a Raider for life, and the club is open to re-signing him at the right price. I think when you're the Raiders and you're hearing right price, and if you're Kolton Miller, you got to be thinking top 10 offensive line money. And here are the highest paid left tackles per year in the National Football League. And one of the deals that I've kind of compared to the extension that I believe Kolton Miller could get is Deion Dawkins, who also 31, 32 years old, ended up getting that contract extension. And based on the age, based on the skill set, if you're Kolton Miller, I think that the number that you're looking at to start is about $20 million a year. Bonsignor has also said that he believes that the Raiders and Miller are a little bit off on what the asking price is, and that's one of the biggest reasons why no deal has been done yet. Let's keep it moving, though, on why Vinny doesn't think that the Raiders are going to extend Kolton Miller. Finding that common ground could be a little bit difficult, which is one of the things that Vinny did end up saying. And when you think about common ground has to be something where the Raiders know we're getting a good deal. I also know from talking to Miller, he just wants to be valued, and he wants to be a player that they sit up here and they go, all right, this is definitely that somebody that can help us out in the long term. So here is the exact quote. Finding that common ground could be a challenge, and Miller, who plays a premium position at left tackle, has to consider his worth on the open market. Charles Grant, an athletic left tackle drafted in the 3rd round this year, could play a role in that decision. He's likely to use 2025 as a developmental season. Depending on his progress, he could take over for Miller in the 2026 season. So I do know that Charles Grant was impressive this offseason. He impressed at OTAs. He was impressive during minicamp. I do think, though, he is a pretty raw prospect, and betting on him being ready to go next season is a massive risk, especially when we know the struggles that Geno Smith has had at the offensive line position in the past with Seattle. Now, I get it. Charles Grant was great last season at William & Mary. Highest PFF grade out of any offensive tackle entering the draft, 91.2 overall. But I have heard from multiple people at Raiders practice that he is still far away from being ready to be a reliable starter, and that the Raiders do want to give Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers some time to, mature and marinate a little bit before just throwing them out to the fire. Because what I would be worried about is if you throw Charles Grant out into the fire too soon, he turns into Brandon Parker. And I just don't want Brandon Parker. So here's again what the prediction is now from Vincent Bonsignor on extending Kolton Miller. His prediction, quote, the Raiders will monitor Miller's effectiveness in coordinator Chip Kelly's offense while tracking Grant's development. They will be in a better position next spring to decide whether to reinvest in Miller, probably on a deal that pays him $20 million to $23 million per season, or give Grant the job on his cost-effective rookie deal. Now, what he's saying there essentially is the Raiders want to see how Miller does in the first year with Chip Kelly. Wants to see how he does in the first year with Raiders' new offensive line coach, Brennan Carroll, the son of Pete Carroll. Because of everything that Vinny's saying there, that prediction is very clear to me. Vincent Bonsignor is predicting that the Las Vegas Raiders will not extend Kolton Miller this season, that they're going to wait and see how it pans out, and if they are confident in him after this season, then they're going to give him a contract at 20 to 23 mil, and if they aren't confident in him, then they're going to turn the keys over to Charles Grant, somebody that they drafted in the 3rd round, 99 overall. The problem with that idea is this. I believe the Las Vegas Raiders need to extend Kolton Miller, and they need to do it right now. And coming up here on this show, I'm going to tell you exactly why it needs to happen right now. And quite frankly, I'm starting to get a little agitated that it hasn't happened already, because I don't understand why and how that this team goes out and they trade for a quarterback in Geno Smith. They give him a 2-year extension before he's ever played a snap, and you're not interested in extending the guy that's going to protect his blind side, and you're not interested in extending the guy that's also going to be his top wide receiver. That thought process to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I'll tell you why, though. You got to extend them now here in just a moment, but I do want to tell you, if you're trying to get your hands on some Raiders 4th of July shirts, 4th of July is literally this week. It's Friday. Get your hands on them right now. Chatsports.com/RaidersUSA. If you love America and if you love the Las Vegas Raiders, then I got the perfect shirt for you. I'm also somebody that likes to try to kill two birds with one stone, and I never know what the hell to wear on 4th of July because I'm always eating food, I'm drinking beers, and I'm chilling by a pool. Why not rep your favorite team while you're also repping the number one country in the world? Chatsports.com/RaidersUSA. That link is available to everybody watching this show right now down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So here's why the Raiders need to extend Kolton Miller. The first reason is he is still playing at a high level. He is still a legit left tackle. From week 6 to 18 last season, he literally allowed only one sack, and he's still proven to me that he is a top 15 offensive tackle in the league. You traded for Geno Smith. How on earth are you going to trade for a quarterback if you don't have his blind side protected, especially with all the issues that Geno had to deal with before in Seattle? We have not had many players of Kolton Miller's stature that have said, I want to be a Raider. And he literally said a few weeks ago that he wants to be a Raider for life. I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Kolton. I've had the opportunity to kick his butt in a wing eating contest. They do not make human beings like Kolton Miller. And I say that because he is such an outstanding human being. Like, people don't realize how good of a dude he is, how much of a leader he is in that locker room. He's been a team captain, and he wants to be a Raider, and he showed the Raiders this offseason. I want to be a Raider by showing up to non-mandatory things. So you're going to reward a player that's as talented as Kolton Miller. You're going to reward him by not giving him an extension. You know, that's what that's going to tell every single other big-name Raiders player in the future. If I'm showing up to non-mandatory things and I got $0 million guaranteed, why the hell would I show up? I want guys that are out there even when they don't have to be. That's a Raider mentality. That's a compete mindset. And that's what Kolton Miller did. The Raiders have the money in order to do it. You have the 9th most money right now in salary cap space, probably somewhere around 31, 32 million, depending on if you look at Spytek or over the cap. But we have the money to do it. So why not, hell, get the deal done already? And then Miller does fit this Raiders team's timeline. I keep saying this over and over again, that the Raiders' timeline, to me, is a 2 to 3 window. And I believe that Pete Carroll's trying to be the best they possibly can be in 2027, that way he gets that extra year in that contract in 2028. But if you already extended Geno Smith, you're telling me Kolton Miller at age 29 can't be still one of the best left tackles, 29, 30, 31, when he showed you last year from week 6 to 18 that he can be that guy. He's just got to be healthy, and he's 100% healthy this season. The math ain't mathing to me, Raiders. Let's get this deal done already. Before we get into the breakdown around Jakobi Meyers, I do want to tell you all that we got a special live show. When? Thursday, July 10th. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. When you see who the special guest is, you're guaranteed going to want to ask him a question. And if you miss this live show, that's on you. But I promise you, you're not going to want to miss it. Let's go to the second part of this program, which Vincent Bonsignor does not believe that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to extend Jakobi Meyers this offseason. So when I started the show off saying there's some concerning rumors, to me, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of all Raider fans out there, but when I make titles to shows, I do it based on my thought process. And if the Raiders are truly not planning on extending Kolton Miller and Jakobi Meyers, that is concerning to me because that doesn't make sense. And when the Raiders have had a plan, I feel like they've executed that plan very well. You not extending Jakobi and Kolton Miller doesn't align with everything you've been doing this offseason, and I don't think it follows the plan. So here's what Vinny had to say. Meyers, 28, coming off a career season, eclipsing more than 1,000 yards receiving for the first time in his career. His 87 receptions for 1,027 yards and 4 touchdowns were achieved with abysmal quarterback play. So there's a reason for optimism that he will be even more productive playing with new quarterback Geno Smith. I agree with everything that Vinny has to say here in this quote because Jakobi is one of the best receivers in the NFL. Do I think that he's top 20? I think he deserves to be in that conversation. To me, he's no doubt top 30. Now, depending on who you look at for stats, I'll admit, I don't think that he had a drop last season. There are some people that do have him slotted with a drop, but look at the numbers up on screen. That's with quarterbacks like that's like quarterbacks with Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Jarrett Stidham, right? Like, we're talking about guys even along the lines of Desmond Ridder. This is really, really bad quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. plus awful offensive coordinators. Jakobi has still been very reliable even before he even came to the Raiders. Let's keep it moving here, though, from Vincent Bonsignore. The Raiders' win now mantra suggests they want to maximize these next few years, so it makes sense they want to extend the relationship with Meyers, and sure, he and Brock will remain intact with Smith. That said, they did invest draft picks in receivers Jack Bech, Dante Thornton, and Tommy Mellott. There was a need to add depth at the position, but could Bech be insurance policy in case Meyers leaves in free agency? All of those things that Vinny was just talking about there, and I hear him loud and clear because I do really think that the Raiders were smart in going out and getting a Jack Bech, going out and getting Dante Thornton Jr., going out and getting a Tommy Mellott. Trey Tucker has also taken a step up. And maybe because the Raiders are confident in Tucker, Thornton, Bech, and Mellott, maybe that's the reason why they don't go out and reward Jakobi Meyers. But here's what's confusing. Vinny's sitting up here and he's predicting that the Raiders aren't going to extend Meyers now, but he's predicting that the Raiders are going to extend Meyers next offseason, which is kind of the problem that I have with everything that Vinny predicted. Keeping Meyers probably will cost the Raiders an annual average salary of $17 million to $18 million. It's a fair price for a receiver expected to become a reliable partner for Smith. A 3-year, $58 million contract with $35 million guaranteed could get it done in March. Now, originally, my contract projection that I gave for Jakobi this offseason was 2 years, $40 million, fully guaranteed. That number is a little bit higher than the one Vinny gave out because Vinny is saying if the Raiders were to sign him in the offseason, 3 years at 17 to 18, it were to come out to about that $58 million number. Because of what Jakobi's making this season, if you give Jakobi Meyers, who right now is basically making $15 million, 2 years, $40 million, that makes his new deal 3 years, $55 million, and an average base salary of $18.3 million. My point is, you can save money now by extending him. And making him the 22nd highest paid wide receiver, I actually think is a fair deal now, but that's going to be a deal that's really good in a few years from now. Also, the other very confusing part about what Vinny said there is he's like, well, you tie Jakobi 3 years in the offseason, next offseason, to Geno Smith. Well, it's technically not 100% true because right now Geno's got 3 years on his deal. Jakobi Meyers, next offseason, if that deal ends up going down, Jakobi will have 3 years. Geno Smith will only have 2. If the plan is to lock him in with Geno, you give him a 2-year extension this year, and you're not going to have to pay as much money in the long run. The reason why you end up getting this deal done now, first off, he is criminally underrated. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. Jakobi Meyers is one of the most underrated NFL players. He was literally voted the most underrated receiver by his peers. And he's putting up numbers that doesn't get enough credit. I don't know if y'all know this. Jakobi Meyers has more catches than DK Metcalf, Mike Evans over the past 4 years combined. In fact, he's got the 17th most catches in the NFL over the past 3-4 years. Why? He's a consistent player, and he's been doing that with just absolutely bullshit play at the quarterback position. The next reason, it's going to be very similar to what I said about Kolton Miller. You traded for Geno Smith. Why are you going to trade for a quarterback if you're not going to have a number one option? And yes, I want to believe in Jack Bech, Tommy Mellott, Dante Thornton Jr., and I want to believe in Trey Tucker. But you know who I know I can believe in? Jakobi Meyers. He wants to be a Raider. He has said multiple times this offseason and the years past that he wants to be a Raider. And in today's day and age where you got all these guys that are just specialty receivers, divas, man, Devontae, diva, George Pickens, diva, you don't got to worry about Jakobi Meyers sitting out. And if there's one position right now that is filled with freaking divas, it is the wide receiver position. And if we're going to run an offense that's predicated on running the football, you need somebody that can swallow a humble pill a little bit and not be a diva. He fits the Raiders' timeline. He's 28 years old. He's going to be a reliable receiver for Geno Smith in this offense for the next 3, 4, hell, maybe even 5 years. And then next, it's this. It's going to cost more next offseason. And just like what I mentioned here with Kolton Miller, it's going to cost more offseason. Because when you allow a player to hit the open market, it simply costs more. Right now, Jakobi Meyers and Kolton Miller, if you gave them both a 2-year extension and tied them to the Raiders for the next 3 years instead of waiting this year and then giving them an extension next offseason after they proved it to you, to me, that's not what smart organizations do. Overall, in conclusion, when I read this article from Vinny, it kind of made me think of my wife, Alex, because she's always like, oh, you want to eat your cake and you want to have it too. when you look at this entire article from Vinny, I do think that he wants his cake and he wants to be able to eat it too. Like in his mind, he's going, no, we're not going to extend Jakobi. We're not going to extend Kolton Miller, but we're just going to be able to get him back next offseason. Well, what if that doesn't happen? Like, if I was the Raiders, I would take a little bit of a page out of the book last offseason because I was somebody that said, let's go extend Robert Spillane. Let's go extend Trevon Merrick. Let's go extend some of these other players that we were unable to bring back. Now, sure, we got lucky being able to get back Malcolm Kuntz. I hate to break it to you. Kolton Miller and Jakobi Meyers, if they hit the open market next season and they have good years, because again, the only way that Vinny is saying that you're going to bring them back is if they have good years. If they have good years, salary cap goes up. Other NFL teams are going to be looking. That price tag is going to go much, much higher. And then you put yourself in a risk of, well, maybe Charles Grant isn't ready. Maybe Trey Tucker, Dante, Jack Besh, maybe these guys aren't ready. If you believe in Jakobi Meyers and Kolton Miller, you get that extension done this offseason. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I believe in both of those players on and off the field. For that reason, the rumors that Vinny put out there about the Raiders not extending Kolton Miller and Jakobi Meyers this offseason, they concern the hell out of me because I don't understand an organization that has done so many smart things this offseason, that has had a plan. How the hell is Jakobi Meyers and Kolton Miller not a part of that long-term plan? What up, Gutierrez? Who can rap better, Waller or Mayer? I'll tell you this. It might be Mayer. I've never heard him rap.
Stop. Waller's not bad.
The new song he came out with, I will give him credit. It's catchy. The new Waller rap that he came out with, it's catchy. Every other song I've ever heard by him, scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 1 or a 2. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but that was probably one of the most angering problems. Like, here's my question to Raider fans out there. Scale 1 to 10, how would you judge Darren Waller's rap?
What about the one that dropped after the Thursday Night Football game?
Well, that was just dumb. But, like, that was my problem with Waller, where it was like, we just made you the highest paid tight end in the NFL, and now you're more concerned about being a rapper. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's maybe my opinion. Maybe other people are out there. I just don't think he's very good.
Caleb.
What up, Caleb? After today's Raiders report, everyone go watch Kobe Raider highlights so far. Kobe killed harder.
Jakobi Meyers.
Oh, I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about right here. I think the thing about Jakobi and what he's just so good at, he's just so good at so many different things. Like, he's not elite probably at anything that's not just catching the football. He's not an elite route runner. He's not an elite speed guy. But he is a really good route runner. He's got enough speed to beat you. And because he can set you up and he's a physical guy, guys play him a little bit closer because he is not afraid to block, and he does dominate in that 5 to 10 range. So because of that, and because he can set you up, he can beat you deep. Jakobi Meyers is a really good all-around receiver. And when you have somebody that is as talented as Geno and as accurate as Geno, I literally think like Jakobi Meyers is one of the most perfect receivers for a guy like Geno. Yeah, he might not be a true number one, but for a quarterback like Geno Smith at the price tag Jakobi Meyers is, I think he's one of the best wide receiver twos in the league. Gutierrez, paying your punter before your wide receiver or left tackle is some BS. Oh, man. I hear you loud and clear. The other problem with this, though, is I have absolutely no problem with extending A.J. Cole. Like, it was the smart thing to do. He's the best punter in the NFL. I think that you can make an argument that he's the greatest Raiders punter of all time. And I know that statement is outlandish to some people because some people are going, well, what about Ray Guy? What about Shane Leckler? When you just look at the numbers and numbers alone, A.J. Cole's got better numbers than Ray Guy. It's actually not even close. And he's got better numbers than Shane Leckler. Yes, Leckler fell off a little bit, and I still would think Leckler at this point of their careers is still the better overall punter. But, like, real talk, A.J. Cole, you could legitimately say is the greatest Raiders punter of all time, which that means he's the greatest punter of all time because the Raiders have, to me, the two top punters ever. I know Mark saying Ray Guy. All I say is this, Mark, and to anybody out there that thinks that statement is crazy, look up the numbers. I already did a whole video on it, but you can look up the numbers and compare for yourself. What up, man, Deezy? My heart would be so full seeing Stafford go down so Jimmy G can throw ducks to Devontae. Call me effed up, but I want to see the diva come out again. I also want to see the diva come out again. I will never wish an injury.
We've never said we hope injury on anybody, but how hilarious that would be. I agree with you, man.
Like imagine if Matthew Stafford, they have another kid, and Jimmy's got to start a game for Devontae. I want to see some hospital balls. Jimmy G.
All right. Last chance to get up in this Raiders mailbag on a Tuesday. We got a special Raiders, or not mailbag. What am I even saying? Raiders duck race on a Tuesday.
Listening. If you want to get in, right now it is a $50 to get in for a chance to win $150 here on the show.
I can't even find the...
What?
What's it called?
I don't know what's it called.
I'll
let you look for it. Right now, as it stands, the people that I got in, I have Fabian, Charles, Patrick, Phillip, Gary.
I was looking for
and Amy.
My Slack on here. I was like, where is it?
Those are the people that I have in right now. If nobody else gets in, friendly reminder, you're also going to get raffle tickets on this duck race. So right now we have 6 people in. It's a mega duck race. I know it's a big one. So if Fabian Moreno were to come in last place, he would get blank amount of tickets in the Raiders fantasy football raffle. Right now 6, I'll double it, 12. I think that's a fair number. Just based on what we have right now. Mark, AJ will be the best ever in the end for sure. He's at least got a shot. That's all I want people to do. Do I think AJ Cole's the greatest Raiders punter right now? No, he's got to play many, many more years to be able to hold that honor. I get it. But I do also think, and this is like not one of my pet peeves with Raiders fans, but it's something that I have just come to understand. It's like sports in general now, where if somebody was considered the greatest, we have to be able to have an open mind conversation of, well, if a guy is proving to be better, or if the numbers prove that he's better, we at least got to be able to say that he's better, right? I don't want to get into a LeBron, Michael Jordan conversation, but I do think there can be conversations around certain players. Do people still think Babe Ruth is the greatest baseball player of all time? I'm sorry, I'm not going to die on that hill. I do not think that a guy that's going up against the players that he was going up against at that time, I think Shohei Ohtani could go down in the history books as the greatest baseball player of all time because of what he does from a hitting standpoint and what he does from a pitching standpoint. Maybe that's a hot take, but I do think a lot of times people be like, oh, Babe Ruth is the greatest player. Well, why? Let's challenge that. And to me, the A.J. Cole, Ray Guy, Shane Leckler conversation is one that at least needs to be discussed and at least needs to be looked at. It can't just be, oh, no, A.J. Cole's not the best. Well, tell me why. Because the numbers say otherwise. The numbers prove it. Mandeezy, you guys remember King? Marquette? Yeah, Marquette was a electric punter. I really wish that he could have worked out in the NFL. But again, when your punter is a distraction, and he was a distraction, and, we've had the opportunity to meet Marquette. I've had the opportunity to chop it up with him. Marquette, super cool dude, very laid back. But at the same time, I understand NFL teams going, I don't want my punter to be a distraction.
Yeah.
And that's really how I think the conversation goes. All right, so I'm going to send Chuggs the list of names here.
I got it.
Though I do see one more is in Lord Cameron Abbott, Mount Raider Moore. What up, Cameron? Cameron, have you seen John Scheffler? I haven't seen Sheffy in a while, and I miss him. I haven't seen Scheffler in a while. Honestly, I haven't seen a few guys from Mount Raider Moore in a while. I haven't seen Borelli probably in a good year and a half. Haven't seen Trivan in many, many months. Hopefully he's all right. Ira Jackson, I hope he's all right. Hope these guys are good, man. All right, so here's what's going to go down. We got 7 people in this race. Winner, you get the money. I'm going to double the raffle tickets because I appreciate all y'all getting in. So the way that this is going to end up going down is this. Whoever comes in 7th, you get 14 tickets. 6th, you get 12. 5th, you get 10. So on and so forth. First place gets the money. If Fabian Moreno ends up, wherever Fabian finishes is how many free spots we'll give away. Sound good? Let's rock. Rustin, I see your super. I will get to it right after this duck race.
You can read it.
We need to get both re-sign and keep Mayer. I be getting in the duck race, but for some odd reason, I have a hold on my Venmo, which is weird because I only use it for duck races. Yeah, maybe you've been racing a little too much, Rustin. I don't know. It could also be that you've sent money to somebody else and, I don't know, Venmo's just watching you. I don't have the answer, but I do agree that I think both need to get re-signed. Re-signed's not the right word. Extended, I think, is what you're looking for there for Kolton Miller and for Jakobi Meyers. And I also want to keep Michael Mayer. I know that I talk about Michael Mayer trades. It's my job because that's what's being talked about in the NFL. But genuinely, I want the Raiders to keep Michael Mayer. Fabian Moreno right now with a lead. I mean, if he won back-to-back days, this would be pretty freaking crazy. Somebody's got to make a move. Gary Backus! Oh, man, from the back! I thought Amy was about to turn it on. And then all of a sudden, Gary freaking Backus, dude. What a win.
We got Fabian in second, so we're giving away 4 free entries to people spamming LV. Who wants it?
Gary, if you could please confirm that you just received $175, that would be much, much appreciated.
LCA, you're getting 4.
LCA, well, no, LCA gets 6.
Oh, 6.
LCA gets 6. Amy gets 8. Philip Bogert gets 10. Charles G gets 12. And then Patrick Roche gets a butthole pick and 14 raffle tickets. Pretty legit. Pretty legit. All right. You told him what? To spam LV?
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking down here right now. I'm going to close my eyes, and the first one that I see is Peter B. 63. Keep going with the LVs. I'm going to close my eyes again. It just landed on Mark Rasmussen.
Okay.
Next one that I see, keep those LVs going. I'm going to close my eyes, and I just saw Ike Nasty.
Oh, nice.
One more. We got to give away one more. Closing my eyes, and it's going to land on. All right, I'm going to be honest. I don't know how to say this one. It's JAIROGLIFIKZ. Yo.
I got it.
Yeah? How would you pronounce that?
Hieroglyphics.
Wow.
Yo.
I actually think that you're right. Is that how you spell it?
No. He did it like the phonetically.
I'm going to be real with you. I never would have got that. Never in a million years would I have gotten that one right.
What can I say?
What can I say?
All right. We will be back on Thursday with a live Friday Madden simulation.
Not true.
Make sure you're
Not true.
here. Stay tuned.
Not true. We're not going to be live on Friday.
Oh, yeah. We're gone Friday.
We will be live Thursday instead. America's birthday is on Friday, so I'll be real. We are not working on that Friday. Enjoy that day with your friends, your family.
I didn't even realize.
I mean, I'll say, if Jeremy wants to go live on Friday, he's more than welcome. I'm going to be not here.
Yep.
So the next live show that y'all are going to get from us will be this Thursday, July 3rd, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will do a Madden Sim.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a Madden Sim, Week 14. Make sure you pull up. Who do they play?
We just played the Chargers for the second time, so I believe it's Week 13.
It's going to be week, is it Week 13? We did just play the Chargers, so that means Broncos. Broncos, man.
This one's at home, though.
This game is at home. Raiders, Broncos. Get some FSAMs, get some FDENs down below. From me, from Jeremy Chuggs, shout out to all of y'all again. Fabian, Patrick Roche, thank you guys so much for being a part of this awesome show. To everybody that participated in the duck race, y'all are real ones. And if anything happens around this team, I promise you, I'm going to keep you up to date. Subscribe, notifications. See you Thursday, not Friday.